Welcome to Equal Inspired, the inclusive podcast. Brought to you by Equal IT. Emma Smedslund joins us, who is based in Stockholm, Sweden, and she has built a successful career advancing from developer to engineering manager. Early in her journey, she found herself caught in a cycle of stress, control, and overperformance, believing that success required constant sacrifice. But after experiencing burnout, Emma realized that true success isn't about choosing between career and well-being. It's about integrating both. Through deep inner work, she discovered the keys to sustainable well-being and leadership. Today, she balances her role as an interim engineering manager with her own business, Joy Being Guidance, where she helps individuals and their teams reach their full potential, create meaningful careers, and to prioritize their well-being. With expertise in coaching, hypnotherapy, meditation, and breathwork, Emma empowers others to break free from limiting patterns and cultivate a fulfilling, balanced, professional, and personal life.
Lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and a privilege.
Thank you for your time, and the journey that you've been on in your career is so inspiring for me. I know it's really been a lot of self-discovery, growth, and coming out of the comfort zone in order to actually be who you are today. And a big passion of yours, it lies in empowering individuals, teams, and organizations to also navigate those kind of transitions, achieve their goals, create meaningful results. And I'm really curious, what inspires this?
Thank you for that lovely question. So, I think I've always been called to nurture and support others. I'm altruistic in that way, and I think two of my top strengths are communication and organization, which are helpful when you work with teams and groups and organizations as well. And I just love helping individuals and teams grow, just witnessing people unlocking their unique potential and reach their goals is just incredibly fulfilling for me. Just knowing that I played a part in that, even if it's just by holding space for that transformation, was just deeply rewarding for me.
That's so wonderful, like how much that resonates and fulfills you, and that fuels your why. You said that your strengths are around communication, organization. Have they always been your strengths? And if not, how did you, I guess, like train that?
Organization, yes, always been a strength. Even since I was a child, it's always been a strength to just structure. Like my room was always super tidy, for example. And then translating that into working with agile processes and creating structures and tools for teams has of course been a journey, but always something that came natural to me. Communication, on the other hand, has really been something that I've practiced. I think it was something that maybe was latent in me, that I had sort of intrinsically, but that I hadn't expressed or practiced as much. So that has been something that I have practiced a lot.
What does practicing that look like?
In meetings, for example, like this one, for me, I mean, communication when you're a leader is such an important skill to have, because it's really important for me to be able to convey clearly what the direction is and what is expected of people. So I've practiced it both verbally but also in written communication a lot. I would say that is like the major part of my work. One-on-one sessions, development talks, meetings, speaking with stakeholders. I communicate all day long. So it's definitely been something I've practiced. Also, of course, taking in feedback regarding that, listening to feedback on how I communicate and how I can improve, that has always also been an important part of my journey.
I'm really happy that you've shared that, because I speak to a lot of folks in tech on a daily basis, and for some of them, they feel that because they aren't so strong in communication, that maybe leadership isn't a pathway for them, but that's just their inner, I guess, imposter telling them that. And it really takes that self discovery. You've been a leader for around 7 years. So I'm just curious about that journey from going from developer to manager. What kind of was that moment for you where you decided to make that shift?
I started out as a front-end developer. I went to vocational school and I got my degree in front-end development. And then I worked as a front-end developer for a couple of years. And at my last front-end developer job, I was starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable in that position because I wasn't really fulfilling my potential in that role. I felt like I could have been a really great UI developer. I loved styling and working with UI design and development, but I didn't really feel like that was celebrated or encouraged. So I was sort of pushed into working more with programming, which I realized that was not really my strength. I wasn't a strong programmer. So I was at a stage where I felt like I was not at the right place in my career, but I couldn't sort of really put my finger on exactly what was missing or what would be my next step. But then I got contacted by a previous grandparent manager from my first job as a developer. And as I exited that position, we had several sort of exit talks where I spoke a lot about how we could have improved teamwork, team collaboration, onboarding junior developers especially, and nurturing junior developers. I had an experience as a leader prior to venturing into tech within retail, and so I had that sort of experience in my backpack. Um, and had a lot of ideas and thoughts that I shared with this grandparent manager. So when he started up a digital department at an insurance company, he knew that he needed someone that could structure sort of building that from scratch. And for some reason, he thought of me. He called me up and asked me if I could consider being the development manager for that. And well, I thought, how hard can it be? And I accepted, and here we are.
I really love that your story also highlights that sense of like allyship, also like that kind of person who had that experience of you, remembered that and reached out to you about the opportunity when you wasn't even in development management already. And that is why it's so important also to give people these opportunities when you see their strengths in other areas too. You kind of had that leadership hat on in retail. You then went to development manager. How did your perception of leadership change after stepping into more of a leadership role in tech?
So my experience as a manager in retail was very, very different. I was very young then. I made many mistakes and I had like zero boundaries. It was a very sort of traditional and hierarchical environment as well, sometimes even management by fear. So mm, and I kind of ended up absorbing everyone's emotions like a sponge because I didn't know how to handle that. And it led to my first burnout, actually. So I was a bit mm, hesitant, though, having that experience, stepping into a new leadership role. But at least I knew what kind of manager I didn't want to be. And that was a very important lesson in itself. But initially, as a manager in tech, I was expected to be hands-on and code, but that only lasted like 2 or 3 months. And I did end up wearing too many hats in my first leadership role. But over time, my perception of leadership evolved, and today I practice intent-based leadership, and 9 times out of 10 my role is to serve, to ensure that my team has everything that they need to succeed, and there's no need for controlling or micromanaging. I just want to make sure that my team is empowered, and autonomous and are happy, and that the road is as clear ahead for them as possible.
I know that authenticity is also something that's really important to you, and we talk about it a lot. We hear about authenticity a lot. But for some, it can still feel really difficult to get there, to feel that they can be authentic because of maybe the environment that they're in or the fear of judgments and things like that. So I'm also curious how that journey was for you to feeling more authentically yourself in this role.
Yeah, I feel like this is a big challenge for many people within tech. It certainly was for me. I put on so many masks. I tried to be what I thought was expected of me. I tried being a really good programmer, for example, even though I wasn't. I suffered so badly from imposter syndrome for a really long time. And it was exhausting to always try to be someone that you're not and to try to do things that you're not really comfortable with or that's not really within your competency. So that has really been a journey for me in terms of like peeling off layer by layer and taking off the like mask after mask. For me, I think authenticity means to have integrity and to be unapologetically myself instead of diminishing myself or changing myself to fit in or be accepted. As a leader, it means to lead from the heart, being vulnerable, admitting that I don't have all the answers, and most importantly, owning my mistakes. This is how I attempt to create psychological safety and foster a growth mindset, creativity, and innovation.
And they are the key components to anybody in a team feeling like they can belong. And you've done a lot of work on yourself. It's not easy to get to that point. Could you paint a bit of a picture for the kind of internal work you did have to do to now get into this space where you feel like you can own that authenticity?
One of the things that sort of motivated me putting on all of these masks was to get validation from other people or through achievements. And so step one, awareness of that, understanding that that is what I was doing, chasing validation through achievements and from other people. And that is the reason that I adjusted myself or changed myself. So I had to first find that intrinsic value within myself and validate myself. Validate my own achievements and worth. So that was the most important thing. And that has taken time. And also that fear of not being accepted if you're not yourself is also something that I've worked a lot with. This journey to be more authentic has been the hardest thing I've ever had to do, but also the most rewarding because as I've practiced it and I really intentionally practiced, then I realized that being myself is not only enough, but that it's welcome and appreciated. Today, my ambition is to be coherent in what I think, feel, say, and do. Because I've learned that the moments when I've felt the worst in my life is when there has been a conflict between what I think, feel, say, and do. And that has caused a lot of stress and tension in my body. So now I just make sure that I check in with myself to ensure that alignment.
Do you have any questions that you ask yourself to check in?
I check in with my body. I make sure that my emotions are in check. I check also the tensions in my body, like both physical emotions and feelings. Does this resonate as a truth in my body? Do I have a tension in my jaw or in my shoulders or in my pelvis? That's usually a sign that I have been wearing a mask for some reason. So I make sure that I just check in with those things and just align it with, okay, this is what I'm thinking about the situation right now, and this is what I'm acting. How does that feel in my body? That's one thing I do. And the other thing is that usually in the mornings in my meditation, I ask myself or my inner critic, what do you have to say today about me? And I have a conversation with my inner critic, and then I try to treat that with as much sort of compassion and warmth and love as I can and just embrace it. Because when we are friends, myself and my inner critic, then it doesn't have as much power over me.
That was actually something that I wanted to ask you, was around that inner critic, because to get to that authenticity, like you say, it takes intention, it takes practice, but with that, the inner critic can creep up on our shoulder and try and kick us when we're just getting ourselves up to the surface. I know I experience that a lot. So one way is through your meditation and having a conversation with your inner critic. Are there any other ways that people can uh, learn to navigate the inner critic more effectively?
The inner critic you could also see as our protective sense, or like a protective ego, and it's really trying to keep you alive at the end of the day, or making sure that you are included in the tribe, that you don't get excluded. Weird as it might sound, it's really just there to make sure that you are safe and sound, and it does this by sometimes going to extreme measures to make sure that you stay within your comfort zone and don't step outside of it, because that's kind of what it sees as a threat potentially to your survival. And it can do this by telling you that you're not good enough, or you don't have this competence, or you don't have this capability. So just be like aware of that voice. Ask it, is what the inner critic says true? Like becoming aware of it, step 1. 2, is what it says true? And 3, do I want it to be true? Because you can actually choose how you respond to what that voice says, rather than reacting to what it says. But just becoming aware of it also makes it lose some of its power. So that's one thing. And then just be kind to yourself. Like, your nervous system reacts to your inner critic the same way as it does to an external threat. So it causes you to go into that fight or flight response. So that's why it's just really important to pay attention to how you speak to yourself. So tell the inner critic when you hear it that, like, I see you, I hear you, thank you for trying to protect me, but I don't need that protection right now, because I'm an adult now and this is not a life-threatening situation. Like, I am capable, I can handle this. And you can also, I mean, just treat it as you would your inner child or a best friend. Like, how would you comfort them? This is like a younger, scared, sad version of yourself. So uh, just embrace it and just assure yourself that you're here for yourself no matter what, and that you won't abandon yourself. You can also use affirmations, which is a powerful tool to shift your mindset as well. Starting your day by asking yourself, what do I need to hear the most right now? And then say that to yourself as if it was already true. So, I am capable. I am enough just as I am. I trust myself, for example. So, repeating that consistently over time, it reshapes your beliefs, and your brain will start to believe that it's true.
I needed to hear this myself, Emma. Thank you so much. Um, really is about flipping the lens on what we've always believed our inner critic to mean. And like you say, treating it with kindness, grace, empathy will help you to be more consistent in navigating that. Because I truly believe that even the most confident people in the world at some point have had this voice. Um, we aren't alone in the journey, but I think sometimes, especially in this world of like comparison and pressures, we sometimes think that we are the only ones who are going through this, and we're the only ones that aren't good enough, that aren't worthy. You touched on meditation earlier too, Emma, and I want to hear your journey with that, because I also speak to other people and they would love to get started, they don't know how to, or they already have a preconceived idea that it's just not for them. They can't focus for more than 1 minute and they fear it may be really difficult. What would you kind of say to these people?
So, I'm a certified meditation teacher, and it's been a long journey for me. I started meditating as part of my healing journey, as part of my therapy, actually. And when I started, I certainly didn't know what I was getting myself into. And it was really, really difficult for me in the beginning because I was one of those people that didn't think meditation was for me because I was always on the go. I was very restless. I was suffering from like chronic stress, which, yeah, that poses a challenge when you want to start meditating. Uh, but it's about practicing. And when you start out, more is not better and duration is not important. So it's just about a couple of minutes each day of either meditation or mindfulness. And it's about just focusing your attention on one thing for a longer period of time. And you can do this with your eyes closed or with your eyes open. You can meditate. Meditation and mindfulness is just about focusing your sense on one thing, on like one object. It can be internal or external. So you can meditate on a sound, for example, like just listening to bird song or like the sounds that are around in your environment. Just stop for a minute and focus on that. Or you can focus on an object like a candle or something that's in your room. Just focus on that one thing for like a minute. Or the traditional sort of Buddhist way to focus on your breath. And just doing that a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, consistently over time. That is what sort of practices your mind to just focus on one thing over time, which calms the mind. It becomes comfortable with focusing on one thing over time because in the beginning or when you haven't meditated, your mind is not comfortable with that at all. We have what we call monkey mind. It jumps around and it tries to find a lot of different things to focus on. So yeah, consistency and practice over time.
I know that calming the mind, this is one benefit. How else have you found meditating to transform like you and then in turn balancing your career too?
Meditation has changed my life. It has saved my life in many ways, changed the trajectory of my career as well. Um, so apart from like calming the mind, it also helps you with clarity and focus. And it's also about getting to know yourself. Um, so in the workplace, it helps us to gain clarity and increase our cognitive senses and improves our working memory. So there's a lot of benefits from meditation that we can apply into our work life. It calms the nervous system. It helps us to move from that fight or flight to calmer state. But yeah, on a deeper level, for me, it has helped me to get to know myself, the true nature of who I am. It has helped me make that journey from living unauthentically to authentically. It has helped me reconnect with my inner truth, my inner voice, the compass that navigates me through life. I can now sort of hear what is true for me. And that is what has sort of unlocked my potential and creativity. Um, and that has enabled me to sort of to one, find my purpose and to fulfill it. Because it reduces all of that noise. Meditation just reduces noise. All of the noise that we have around us in our everyday life has just become a lot more quiet. I have gaps in my thoughts now, which I never used to have.
That's beautiful how transformational that has actually been for you. And you were resilient with it, you were consistent with it, and it's opened up so many opportunities for you. One of those being, I know last year you actually launched Joy Being Guidance, which combines all of these factors that are very close to your heart and that you're working on. Can you tell us a bit more about this and what led you to thinking, I'm going to create this to help others?
I think it was always meant to be. um, I've always wanted to help people on an even deeper level, not only as a manager, but help people in all aspects of life. So it was really just a matter of me giving myself permission to do that. And so today I help both individuals and teams as a coach, both focusing on well-being but also career coaching. I'm a hypnotherapist, so I use that as a tool as well as meditation. And there's also mindfulness practices in that.
If somebody wanted to get in touch to learn more about that, where can they go?
And so they can go to my website to joybeing.se, or they can find me on Instagram where it's joybeing.guidance. I think it's the same on LinkedIn, most social medias. Yeah.
I'll put all of the links in the description box. But with that, how would it typically work? So would you have an introductory call, or what does that look like, I guess, from someone actually taking that first step, which is very courageous in itself?
So I offer free discovery calls. So anyone is just welcome to reach out digitally, phone, physically. I meet clients any way that is best suited for them. Of course, locally in Stockholm would be where I see people. And so discovery call, 30 minutes, is free. It's a call where we kind of go on that discovery journey together to understand how I can support them and how we can together tailor the best way forward for them. So I offer coaching packages, I offer hypnotherapy packages, but also a mix. And then if you're interested in sort of taking your career to the next level, I offer career coaching packages as well, both for individual contributors that just want to maybe understand where they are going in their career, because that can also be a bit tricky in this industry. So together we can identify that and also create a practical plan. And then I also help leaders within the tech industry that either are on that journey, the same journey as I've taken, or people that would like to venture into leadership but haven't taken the step yet. So coaching those as well.
I really encourage anybody who is wanting to take that step to reach out to Emma, to have that discovery call, to see how you can really take your life, not just career, but your life to the next level. Because let's face it, when we're working on ourselves, it has a domino effect on every aspect in our life, really. When we're reclaiming our power, when we're really kind of owning who we are and our why, it just gives this innate sense of confidence in so many ways. Stress and burnout, I know, is something that you've gone through personally and experienced. And if someone is kind of feeling that cycle of stress, what is some steps that they can take towards well-being?
The first step is always awareness, like just acknowledge where you are. And that can be the hardest step, because stress or like achievement and sort of being in that achievement hustle, we celebrate that a lot, right? You get a lot of credit for that. So the first step is to become aware of that you're actually not feeling good, and owning that and recognizing that you are stuck in a cycle of stress or burnout. Because without that awareness, change won't be possible. But once you have acknowledged that, then again, as with meditation, rest. I know this might feel uncomfortable because when your body is in fight or flight mode, when you are very stressed, resting feels unnatural. Like your nervous system wants you to keep moving to ensure your survival. But healing really starts with allowing yourself to just slow down. So finding those small moments of rest consistently every day, even if it's just taking 5 or 10 minutes of rest, that's going to really help your nervous system just calm down. So just start small, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then so on. Really introducing rest gradually helps you to build safety within the nervous system. And then also, like, address any excess. So if there's something in your life that you're overdoing, working late, overcommitting, scrolling endlessly, just ask yourself, what is the opposite of this? And then try to incorporating that into your routine. That was the first thing that I actually did. I did the opposite of what I was doing, which was really, really hard, very challenging, but also transformative.
That awareness is so important, and like kind of again recognizing habits, recognizing things that don't serve you. It can also be quite tough because we can almost be in denial. I think like the thing with burnout is we just put it to the back of our mind, and then out of nowhere it can hit us. The stress, the panic attacks, the anxiety, the tight chest and breathing. Everyone is different, of course, but are there certain signs that we should check in with ourselves or look out for, that if we're recognizing this in our patterns, in our behaviors, that it might be potential burnout?
Tension in your body, problem sleeping, gut issues, resisting rest. Because when you're, all of these are signs of a nervous system that has been triggered and that is sort of stuck in that cycle. So tune into your to your body, I would say. Tune into your needs. Ask yourself honestly, like, how am I actually feeling right now? And what do I need right now? That can be really powerful as well, because often the body and mind already knows the answer to that. We just have to listen. So just be kind to yourself.
We're talking a lot about listening. So, in leadership, listening is key, right? But listening to yourself and your own body is just as important. So, as much as we put that focus on to be a great leader, listening is important. Listening to yourself will make you an even better leader, better individual. It's really interesting what you said about rest, because I know from my own experience, there's been instances when I lost my sister, I thought, right, I need to keep busy. I have to do things to keep me preoccupied, distracted, and just felt that I couldn't have that rest time and space to be with thoughts. The thing with that is it catches up with you, and it only works for so long. It could work for a year, it could work for 5 years, but if you don't deal with that at some point, it really can catch up. And you mentioned therapy. I am also in therapy myself, and I just want to normalize that a little bit more too. I think that's really important, that um, being in therapy isn't necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't mean there's necessarily anything wrong with you. What it is it shows that you are putting yourself first and you're showing yourself self-love.
Yes, absolutely, definitely. Uh, it's like going to the gym, but for your mind and soul, right? We do so much to take care of our bodies, but we use our brain all the time and our emotions are active all of the time. So, of course, we should take care of those. And it can be just, proactively to make sure that we don't end up in a state where we feel really bad or where we have mental health issues. So, of course, we should go to therapy. It's about understanding, like, getting to know yourself, learning about yourself, developing skills to managing your thoughts and emotions, which is really, really important, especially in the society that we live in, where there's so much noise all of the time. There's so much intake through our senses all of the time, so many impressions. So, of course, we need to take care of that, and we need to take care of everything that we haven't taken care of up until this point also, in terms of our thoughts and emotions, because as you say, I think a lot of people recognize what you just mentioned about keeping yourself busy when times are hard, instead of actually stopping to meet those thoughts and emotions, which is entirely natural. Your body is just trying to protect you, right? But at some point, we need to deal with that. Otherwise, we end up in that sort of chronic stress, which will, yes, surface at some point.
It can be super overwhelming, life, juggling career, juggling just all these different plates, and especially with everything that's going on in the world. So many people, particularly in the job market too, experiencing layoffs, experiencing countless rejections in finding a new job, like spending 6 to 7 months just trying to find a new job. So you've mentioned some really amazing tips that people can implement to try and focus on mindfulness and just being in well-being. But I want to ask too, if someone's, let's say, sat at their desk and it's a very overwhelming time, high pressured, maybe they've had way too much caffeine that day and they're feeling, that their heart kind of pounding out of their chest and anxiety is high. What are some ways they could regulate the nervous system whilst maybe at their desk, a little bit inconspicuously if people are around?
I mean, tech jobs are so cognitively demanding. Long hours in front of screens, constant notifications, problem solving at a really high pace, and it can really keep that fight or flight mode chronically activated. Um, so things that you can do to sort of shift into the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest. Number one, breathe. Our breath is such an important tool that we have readily available to us at any given moment. And it's the most sort of cleansing, calming, purifying thing that we have. So just taking a conscious breath when you feel that breath sort of moving in and out of your body, feeling how it spreads oxygen through to all of your cells, emphasizing your exhale, which is the break energy, sort of. Inhaling activates us, exhaling calms us down. So if you can emphasize the exhale, make that a little bit longer than the inhale, and that will calm you down. If you're familiar with box breathing, like the Navy SEAL technique, which calms the nervous system, you can do that for a minute. It's like when you inhale for 4 seconds, you hold the breath for 4, you exhale for 4, and then you hold it again for 4. That's a very inconspicuous thing that you can do. You can just like touch your body a little bit, because touching our body, like feeling your body, is also very like giving yourself a self massage, basically, even if it's just a little bit, and that also tells the body that it's okay and safe and that it can calm down. And just taking a micro pause for like 90 seconds, just close your eyes if you can, and just take some like slow breaths, refocus. That you can also do. If you are at home, if you're working from home, then you could do a little bit of shaking. Shaking your body resets your nervous system as well. You can sing a little bit, because humming or singing also like stimulates the vagus nerve. So that's also instantly calming for the body.
Thank you so much for sharing those tips. I'm literally going to implement those when I'm at my desk, because I've noticed recently for me as well, I just can't drink coffee. I really can't. I have 1, 2 cups, and then in the afternoon, the anxiety, the kind of not being able to catch the breath, it catches up. So I'm definitely going to be implementing these breathing exercises. And it's been amazing speaking with you today. And we're so grateful for your time. I have one final question. And I want to know that if you could have a conversation with your younger self at the start of your career, what's one piece of advice that you would give her?
Remember that you are good enough just as you are. You are valuable and enough simply because you exist, and you don't have to do anything or please anyone to be worthy of respect, of acceptance, of success. Just be you and be kind to yourself.
That's absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, Emma. We have loved welcoming you today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been my honor and pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to today's episode, and we hope you're feeling inspired. If you are, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, and join us on our mission to create a diverse, inclusive, and equitable universe. This podcast is brought to you by Equal IT, a mission-driven business working to diversify tech teams through refined talent acquisition, complemented by diversity and inclusion consulting. As an Azure Heroes inclusive leader, we aim for teams to cultivate a strong sense of belonging and equity. Find us on Twitter and LinkedIn. We welcome your feedback, questions, and would love to hear from you. Join us next time on Equal Inspired.